Picture two islands, bathed in turquoise waters, where golden beaches meet dense forests and rolling hills. A place where ancient peoples first walked, European ships arrived, and empires sought control. This is Antigua and Barbuda, a story of survival, culture, and resilience. What stories lie hidden beneath the waves and forests of these islands? Could these islands hold more history than meets the eye? Long before Europeans arrived, indigenous peoples such as the Arawaks and later Caribs called these islands home. They cultivated crops, fished the waters, and built communities that thrived for centuries. How did these first islanders survive and adapt to the ocean's unpredictable moods? Archaeological finds suggest they left behind tools, pottery, and ceremonial artifacts, showing early ingenuity and connection to nature. Could the forests and beaches they walked on still carry their footprints, waiting to be discovered? Mountains, rivers, and coastal reefs shaped life, providing food, shelter, and protection. How would you navigate an island that is both paradise and challenge at the same time? In 1493, Christopher Columbus passed by Antigua on his second voyage, naming it after a church in Seville, Spain. Barbuda was later mapped and noted for its flat terrain and vast lagoon. How did these islands' first encounters with Europeans alter the fate of their people? The island's location made them strategic points for European powers, including Spain, France, and England. Early colonists brought trade, religion, and conflict, setting the stage for centuries of change. Could the island's beauty and resources make them a prize worth fighting over for centuries? By the 17th century, English settlers established plantations, particularly for sugar production, using enslaved Africans to work the land. Antigua became a hub of the Caribbean sugar trade. How did the forced labor of countless people build wealth for a distant empire? Barbuda often served as a source of timber, livestock, and workers for Antigua. The islands became intertwined in a system that shaped politics, economy, and social hierarchy for generations. Could communities survive and preserve culture under such harsh and unequal conditions? Despite harsh conditions, enslaved people preserved traditions, songs, and stories that became the foundation of Antiguan and Barbudan identity. Pirates, maroons, and uprisings showed that resistance persisted. How did hope and culture survive under the shadow of oppression? Leaders and communities organized secret schools and gatherings, passing down knowledge and belief systems. Could music, dance, and ritual act as tools of survival and resistance? The islands were contested by European powers throughout the 17th and 18th centuries. Fortifications were built, battles fought, and treaties signed. But the islands remained mostly under British control. How did the struggle between empires shape the islands' borders and identity? Commerce, sugar, and shipping thrived despite wars. Merchants, sailors, and local leaders adapted to changing rule while keeping their communities intact. Could trade and culture survive even when politics constantly shifted? In 1834, slavery was abolished in the British Empire, profoundly changing Antigua and Barbuda. Freed people began establishing their own communities, taking control of land, work, and governance where possible. How did freedom reshape society and culture on the islands? Festivals, music, and storytelling helped maintain cultural identity during this transformative period. Which traditions from before emancipation survived and continue to inspire today? The early 1900s brought social change, education reforms, and growing political consciousness. Workers began organizing for better conditions, and local leaders emerged to guide the islands towards self-governance. Could education and organization transform small island communities into agents of change? Antigua and Barbuda participated in global trade networks, exporting sugar and other goods while importing ideas, technology, and culture. How did being part of the wider world shape island society? Like and subscribe History in Minutes before we dive into 20th century. By the mid-20th century, political movements grew stronger. The Antigua Labour Party emerged, advocating for workers' rights and greater autonomy. Barbuda maintained a communal land system that influenced its political role. How did leaders balance local tradition with the push for national independence? In 1981, Antigua and Barbuda gained independence from Britain. The islands became a sovereign nation, joining the Commonwealth and taking control of their destiny. What challenges awaited a young nation building its own identity after centuries of colonial rule? Tourism became a major part of the economy, drawing visitors to pristine beaches and historic towns. Agriculture continues alongside growing service industries. How does a small nation balance tradition with the pressures of global tourism? Cultural festivals, music, and crafts celebrate history and identity. The island's people remain proud of their heritage while adapting to modern life. Could tradition and modernity coexist harmoniously on a small island paradise? Antigua and Barbuda are known for carnival, calypso, and steel pan music, preserving African and indigenous influences. Folk stories, dances, and arts connect past to present. How do celebrations and music carry the history of resilience and creativity across generations? The island's language, cuisine, and community gatherings reflect centuries of fusion and adaptation. Could daily life itself serve as a living history lesson for visitors and locals alike? Antigua's hills and reefs, Barbuda's lagoons and wildlife define how people live, trade, and travel. Coral reefs protect shores, forests provide resources, and the climate shapes agriculture and tourism. How does geography dictate the opportunities and challenges for island communities? The island's natural beauty preserves history, from colonial forts to indigenous sites hidden in the landscape. Could the land itself tell stories that books cannot? Islanders adapted technologies for agriculture, fishing, and building in harmony with nature. Knowledge passed down through generations blends traditional and modern techniques. Could small communities be innovators in ways that larger nations overlook? From early navigation to modern energy and conservation efforts, ingenuity connects the past to the present. How do lessons from history guide the island's approach to the future? Today, Antigua and Barbuda balance tourism, industry, and preservation of culture. Festivals, music, and local traditions thrive alongside international business and development. How do people honor centuries of history while embracing modern challenges? Local communities maintain ties to ancestors through food, festivals, and storytelling. The island's identity is a fusion of resilience, creativity, and survival. Could the spirit of a people define a nation more than its borders or economy? Antigua and Barbuda are more than just paradise. They are a story of survival, culture, and adaptation. Mountains, reefs, and towns carry echoes of indigenous peoples, colonists, and freedom fighters. Which chapter of the island's history inspires you the most? The Twin Islands remain vibrant, proud, and alive with history, music, and tradition. What can the world learn from the enduring spirit of Antigua and Barbuda? And that brings us to the end of Antigua and Barbuda's incredible journey. So far, we've traveled through the histories of countries beginning with the letter A. Thank you for staying with us on this adventure. On Afghanistan, Albania, Algeria, Andorra, Angola, Argentina, Armenia, Australia, Austria, Azerbaijan, Antigua and Barbuda. In the next episode, we move on to countries starting with the letter B, and our first stop will be the Bahamas. Subscribe and stay tuned.